Hi, everyone. Good Tuesday morning to you. It is 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here, and today is the day. It is a big day weather-wise. We have a heightened severe weather risk across the area today, and I wanted to bring you an update on what we expect in terms of timing and threats, particularly, of course, during the second half of the day today. First of all, the Storm Prediction Center remains bullish on the threat for severe weather across our region today. We think of these severe weather risk categories as a 1 to 5 scale. And in our part of the country, in eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania, the level 3 or enhanced risk is towards the higher end of, generally what we expect in a given year. It's very rare for us to see a level 4 or especially a level 5 risk for severe weather around here. Those risk categories are much more common in the southern U.S., out into the plain states as well. Typically in our part of the country, 1, 2, 3 times a year is kind of the climatology in terms of how often we are in a level 3 or enhanced risk of severe weather. The surface map, the weather map this morning shows quiet weather here locally. Now we do have some thunderstorms, a couple of states to our west, and kind of this area right here is what I'm going to be watching especially throughout the morning hours, because this could very well, what's going on in St. Louis right now, this could blow up into a heavier line of storms that pushes in our area towards mid-afternoon today as the atmosphere continues to moisten up. The atmosphere overhead in eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania is still fairly dry. We had a comfortable night last night. Our dew points are in the 30s and 40s and 50s across far eastern parts of the Buckeye State into the far western counties of the Keystone State. But from I-71 on west, the atmosphere is moistening up in a hurry, and that'll be one of the key ingredients for our thunderstorm possibilities later today, this increase in low-level moisture that higher dew point air will push in. It'll feel a lot more humid outside as we get into the afternoon today. So let's talk about the individual threats. We talked about, generally speaking, we're in that enhanced risk level 3. The number one risk from these thunderstorms later today would be damaging wind gusts. The Storm Prediction Center has the entire area outlined in the 30 to 44% chance of a damaging wind gust within 25 miles of any spot on the map. So pick any spot, and within 25 miles of that spot, there's roughly 1 in 3 chance that there's a damaging wind gust. And don't forget the definition of a severe thunderstorm is hail 1 inch in diameter or larger, wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or greater, or tornadic activity. So any of those things meet the criteria for a severe thunderstorm. So a severe wind gust is definitely the number one possibility. Kind of a secondary threat would be hail. And I've mentioned this several times, of course, over the last few days. In our part of the country, we get a lot of these small hailstones. We occasionally get some bigger ones, but it's rare, it's uncommon for us to see hailstones up to the size of quarters or especially larger than that. But the atmospheric recipe later on today will possibly promote the formation of some pretty big hailstones. And especially if those hailstones are driven by strong winds, they can cause some damage. They can crack windshields. They can damage siding if they're being blown by the wind. So that's a possibility during the second half of the day. The Storm Prediction Center has roughly a 15 to 30% chance of 1 inch in diameter or larger hailstones this afternoon into this evening. And kind of the tertiary threat is the tornado threat. It is, these numbers seem low, but don't forget, on a given day, the risk of a tornado in any one spot is less than 1%, very minuscule. But today, 5 to 9% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any spot on the map in this kind of brownish, tannish color, which basically encompasses all of our television viewing area. So, not to say any of these things are guarantees, but all of these risks are higher than we oftentimes see in our geographical area. Now, in terms of the timing of the potential storms, I still think there can be 2 distinct waves of storms. There's a lot of weather models out there. I could make a half an hour video showing you all the weather modeling I'm looking at. But, to keep this video reasonably short, I'm going to show you one model suite here that I think is reasonable enough. It basically shows, midday today, a passing shower or even a thunderstorm will be a possibility. It's a low-end possibility, but I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of spots get a little damp around midday today. We've stopped the clock here at noon, and there could be a shower or even a passing thunderstorm. I doubt, if this were to occur, that it's anything all that severe. Now, after that point, as the atmosphere continues to moisten up and it turns pretty warm. We'll get up to 80, perhaps even close to 85 this afternoon. This cluster of storms may be kind of associated with what's going on this morning out into Missouri and southern Illinois. By mid-afternoon, late afternoon, it makes its way east, encounters that warm and humid air, and while not everyone is likely to see this, those who do, mid to late afternoon, could see a pretty nasty storm with a hail possibility and strong winds and perhaps an isolated tornado as well. Notice the storms get a little more common by 5 p.m. in northwest Ohio. This is with the actual cold front. And the timing of this for our area, it suggests that the cold front itself makes its closest approach right around sunset, perhaps close to maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. This is when I think most of the area is likely to see a period of showers and thunderstorms. Now, in some places, they may be severe. Even though this is more of a line than perhaps the more individual or discrete storms that occur earlier in the afternoon, this line formation may encourage strong winds over hail and tornadoes. But in a line like this, sometimes in certain cases, you get little spin-up tornadoes that occur within the line, even though the more of a line that you see that usually means strong straight line winds are going to be your primary threat. So again, this is our second wave, and this is closer to sunset this evening. The severe weather threat in any one location won't last all that long. It's not going to storm all night. In fact, we'll probably give you the all clear. By 9, 10 o'clock from north to south, we should be in pretty good shape. By the end of the evening, it'll turn much cooler later on tonight. We'll wake up tomorrow morning with temperatures not far from 40 degrees. So again, to emphasize our main points here, maybe two distinct rounds of heavy thunderstorms today. Individual cells mid to late afternoon could pose a problem for parts of the area. Most of our area will probably see some thunderstorms as we head towards sunset this evening, and all hazards are on the table with both lines, or both events, if you will. Strong winds, large hailstones, and isolated tornadic activity. So it's a day to stay weather aware. I've mentioned this on some of my coverage over the last few days. Do us a favor. Chances are, if you're watching this deep into a weather video, you tend to stay pretty well in touch with the weather. You probably know some friends and family who do not. They usually don't pay much attention to the weather. They may not have any idea that there's a severe weather risk today. You can help us out by spreading the word to them, sending them a text, shooting them a call, telling them, hey, the weather's important today, or especially as we get into the afternoon, if it looks like the weather will threaten their individual location, help us out to spread the word by spreading the word to them, and helping be an ambassador for those who are a little more in touch with the weather usually. So you can help us out in that regard. We'll be certainly we'll have you covered on air and online throughout the day. Make sure you're following me, the rest of our team, and the Storm Tracker 21 accounts on social media. We'll do some live streaming coverage, no doubt, at some point, and we'll break in on television in the event of any tornado warnings or high-end severe thunderstorm warnings that pose a particularly big threat as well later today and into this evening. Have a great Tuesday. Thanks for watching, and stay safe throughout the day.